I am literally standing in front of a castle built hundreds of years ago inside the side of a cave. And right before this, I literally saw the largest cave in all of Europe. And the crazy part is, I never thought I would find this in Slovenia. This is not something that I would expect in this country. But here it is, the magnificent castles and caves of Slovenia. Welcome to Postonja and Postonja here in Slovenia. Morning from the incredible city of Ljubljana, Slovenia, back in this amazing country that I've literally fallen in love with. It's an incredible country and we're in the capital city, but today we're not exactly visiting the capital city. The capital city is great, but we're gonna leave that for another video. We're gonna be going around to other places in Slovenia, doing a little bit of a day trip, and the mission is one word: cave. That's it, just cave, nothing more. In fact, it's a very large cave. It's a very big cave. It's gonna be a really amazing cave. So with that, we're currently at the bus station here in Ljubljana. Let's go ahead and get on the right bus, hopefully. Gotta ask some questions, but we're gonna find the right bus to the cave. How do I get to Postonja? Okay, yep. And we are officially on the bus and on our way to the cave. And just about an hour and 10-15 minutes later, we've actually made it right here to a place known as Postonja. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's hidden away sort of south of Ljubljana, and it's actually a really nice town. I didn't know there would be this much development here. But our actual trip into the cave has already been booked, and it starts at 11. So they have very strict entry times as to when you're allowed to go in, just to preserve the nature and make sure that there's not too many people actually in the cave at one point in time. So because of that, we still have about an hour to kill before our actual entry time into the cave. So we're gonna walk around and see what we can find here. Hi, do you have limonada? Yes. Natural? Yeah? Yes. Yeah. For here? Yeah, just for here, yeah. Thank you. Nothing like some lemonade before we get up to the cave. I'm actually surprised there's quite a lot of development around this cave. I thought it'd just be the cave and like not a lot of sort of development for tourists, but there's a hotel here, there's a bunch of restaurants, a ton of gift shops. It actually makes it very accessible to come here, and at the same time there aren't too many people. Maybe it's just the season I'm in, but this is also sort of the beginning of summer, so I would expect a lot more people, but it's not too bad, and they have all the tourism infrastructure they need to really support this place. I actually really like it so far. Now before we go in, it might be actually worth telling you a little bit more about this cave. The name, as I said, is Postonja Cave. I think that's how you pronounce it. The interesting thing is that this is the largest cave in Slovenia. It is a massive cave stretching on for kilometers and kilometers. And not only is it the largest cave in all of Slovenia, it's the largest cave in all of Europe. So it is a massive cave, and it actually took a while for them to sort of explore and build sort of things inside. Now the way to go inside isn't actually walking. We're going to be taking a train inside. It took them many years to actually build the train tracks into the cave. But of course now it's a very common thing to do. It's quite an interesting thing to do considering this is the largest cave in there. And the thing is, it might be hot right now, right outside the cave because the sun is out. It's probably around 20 degrees, 22 degrees. But once we go inside, the temperature drops down to 10 degrees. Did I bring a sweater? No. So am I prepared to freeze in the cave? Possibly. But it's gonna be worth it because it's the largest cave in all of Europe, and I think they actually put up the sign for our group to actually go in. So let's go ahead and join the group and see what there is in this massive cave here in Slovenia. I think our group is starting to gather around here for our time. Not sure if any tour groups will be joining us, but it should be interesting. just sat down on the train. This place is so much more popular than I thought. I thought this was like a hidden thing in Slovenia. It's like everyone who's visiting Slovenia comes here for some reason now. I would say it's even more popular than Lake Bled. I don't know why this place is so popular now. But I think in a few minutes we're about to get into the cave right on the train. And I think it's going to be a pretty fun ride. This feels like a Disneyland ride, except everything here is natural. None of this is man-made. Now if that wasn't the craziest train ride ever, I don't know what was. We just weaved through the cave like it was nothing. And then another train suddenly came out of nowhere. That was one of the craziest train rides I've ever taken in my entire life. Now unfortunately, coming here in the cave, you can't do it by yourself. You have to join one of these guided tour groups. They do it by language, so you can do like an English tour or a German tour, but you can't just go around and explore by yourself. You have to join this massive tour, which you can see behind me, with a lot of people. This has got to be one of the most impressive cave structures I've ever seen. I mean, just look at the size of that. That is massive, and that's all natural. Nothing about that's artificial. We're currently inside the Spaghetti Cave. It's called Spaghetti Cave because if you look at the very top, they look like tiny little spaghettis. One of the most delicate parts of this cave, but it's so beautiful. They call it one of the beautiful caves here in Postonja. The more you walk through this cave, the more massive it really comes to you. This is such an ancient cave. Like I said, 2 to 3 million years old. And you can see all those stalactites and stalagmites. And each one, you know, it takes thousands of years. The average one in here took 50,000 years to make, and the guide was saying that's actually at a pretty fast rate. Sometimes it's much slower than that. So the history in here is incredible. I mean, this has been around for millions and millions of years, which is also why don't touch the cave. You touch it, you could destroy hundreds of years of history. And unfortunately, some people have been touching it here on the tour group. You can actually send yourself a letter back home from the only cave post office in the world. I think this is probably my favorite part of the entire cave journey, the actual train ride in. It's actually more interesting than walking through the cave. It's just so much fun. Finally, we are back out. I can see, well, the clouds are here, but we're back outside the cave. I have to say, that is probably one of the most incredible experiences you can ask for in Slovenia. The walking in the cave is nice, and the cave is impressive, but the train ride, that honestly was the best part for me. I loved taking the train through. It's just so fun. And the cave is just really, really impressive. You're not going to see anything like that in the world. It is one of the few places in the world where you can see such a large karst formation in the cave. And like I said, it's been made for millions and millions of years. It is one of my favorite places here in Slovenia again. And I know I keep saying that every place in this country, but it continues to surprise me. Now, aside from the cave, there's also one more thing that I really wanted to check out here, which is a castle known as Postonja Castle. It's actually included in the ticket that I bought. However, it is 10 kilometers away. And there are usually a few ways to get there. First, you can drive your own car there. Unfortunately, I do not have a car that I can drive. The second option is to call a taxi. But based on what I just asked, it's 20 euros there and 20 euros back. So it's 40 euros just to go there, which is insane considering it's like 7 kilometers home. During the summer months, there's a shuttle bus that will take you there. But right now, for some reason, the shuttle bus hasn't started yet. So hitchhiking is the best way we can go. I think it's going to be highly unlikely that we get a ride, but it is included in the ticket. So we're going to try our best to get to the castle, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Hi. Oh, you're going to the castle? Yes? Thank you so much. Oh. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The friendliest old man, Slovenian old man who lives around here, just gave me a ride to the castle, and I couldn't be more thankful. I could not imagine walking those distances. But we finally made it. We finally made it to this place called Postonja Castle, and we're gonna explore all of it starting now. Hi.
Hello.
Yeah.
Perfect. In English?
English, yes please.
You start with number 70.
Number 7.
You'll see on the right side.
Perfect, thank you so much. Welcome to Postonja Castle. We are officially inside this massive castle. And if you remember what I said earlier, Yama means cave. Well, this castle has the Guinness World Record for the largest castle built within a cave. And it's very interesting, it's very useful for the people who built it that way because you get protection from the cave, and at the same time, you can also have like a secret escape route. But you can just see right behind me, the castle is literally built into the cave, and we're going to explore this place, how it's basically embedded into the cave to give them the maximum protection and the maximum amount of resources they need to make the most out of this location. Right here you can see the holes that they would use to attack their enemies from. It actually made it a very strategic point because you could not just throw stones down there, but you could throw hot oil, resin. It's basically like a fortress. And they actually held on to this place a long time because those who came to attack them, you throw something down there and they're gonna die for sure. So it's a very, very strategic and well-protected location. And this is your classic medieval toilet. It's a nice view to have, but back in the day, there was no toilet paper, so they were just using hay and moss to clean up. Doesn't really smell very nice either. I guess it's the years of history of using it. Now we've just stepped into the torture chamber of the castle, and you can actually see right behind me the people hanging down there, and the executioner would be in there, and they would kill people and torture them inside there. Because it's very interesting that this was still a self-sufficient castle, so they had to have their own tortures and dungeons and everything, and they didn't need to build any room for it. They just had a cave, they put somebody in there, and that's where they'd be tortured. Pretty simple for them back in the day. You can see on this side, it's the cave. On this side, it's a man. They really used the cave to protect as much as they could, and then whatever they couldn't, they just sort of build over it, connect it to the cave, and create this really protected fortress. Now behind me here is the dining room, and it looks like it's a really nice place. Like, you could rent this on Airbnb maybe, and it'd be really nice. But the fact is that what it shows here now wasn't exactly what life was like in the castle. In fact, life in here was pretty miserable. It was dark, it was moist, it was damp, and it was very cold as well. The only way you'll get light is being near these windows. Other than that, it was just darkness. I mean, you can see right behind me, this passageway, this is what it would look like for most of the time. What we see here is artificial. We've got lights here in the corner that make it feel a little bit better than it actually was, but the reality was life in here was terrible, and the only reason people stayed here was for the protection. If they could, they would leave. But this was such a protected fort that they chose to stay in here, even though it was terrible to live in. Like I said, it was miserable, it was cold, and it was damp. And all this really nice dining area, it existed. It just wasn't as nice as it looks today. Now at at this point you might be wondering who actually owned this castle and who actually lived in this castle. And the answer is, it's a little complicated. There are quite a few people who actually lived through the castle over the years. Many different families ruled and owned this castle. But one of the most important people was someone called Erasm, and apparently he was like the Slovenian Robin Hood. He killed, I think, the king's son or somebody related to the king, and then after that he fled here and stayed in this castle for a very long time, protected by the cave and obviously the strength of the castle. Now what's really interesting is that after a very, very long siege, he actually lost. But it wasn't because the castle was weak. It was because one of his servants told the enemy that the weak spot of the castle was this right behind me, the lavatory. And in the middle of the night, when Erasmus came to the lavatory to use it, the enemies fired on it and the whole thing buried him instantly. So actually, the fortress was pretty good. It lasted for a very long time. It was just happened to be that night when Erasmus needed to use the bathroom and the enemies attacked him that night. This place is filled with so much history, and it's just so important and strategic, this castle's location, such that so many families and so many people over time have actually lived here under the protection of this massive cave behind me. According to legend, if you ring the bell with a very sincere wish, that wish will come true. But right now the only wish I want is a safe way back to Ljubljana, because I don't know how to hitch a ride back, so that's the wish I asked for. Now we've made it up to the very top of the castle, or technically as far as they'll let us go. This is inside the cave, like this is completely inside the cave now. I think you can tell there's nothing that's man-made here. This is all natural cave protection. And a lot of people would actually live in here. They'd have kitchens, they'd have windows, they would all live in here. And then when you climb all the way to the top, get to this incredible staircase right behind me. Now, when Erasm, who was that Robin Hood figure of Slovenia, lived in this fortress, he had like fresh cherries and wild boar and a lot of supplies because of that staircase right behind me. That led to a secret tunnel which actually led out of the cave where he could get his supplies. So the enemy would be out there fighting, but he would have all his secret supplies transported through that little tunnel over there. Now, technically today, you are still allowed to go through that tunnel. You are able to go through that tunnel, and you'll get out of the cave and you can, you know, wander out from there. However, you do need some equipment, and they don't allow just anyone regular to go and see the hidden tunnels of Erasm. But that is pretty incredible that to this day, the stairs you can still see are quite well preserved, and you can still walk his actual path. None of it has been blocked off or anything like that. It's just that for regular visitors, that's not really allowed. Now I have to say, the Postonja castle is an incredible castle. The mix between castle and cave, it's really not clear cut. Like, it's literally a cave castle is the best way I can explain it. It's really cool how much they preserved it, and they really give a very good sort of glimpse into the history of Postonja cave. But it is incredible, and you can actually almost see right there the coat of arms is right on the castle walls itself. They really do a very good job. They have an audio guide that's included as part of the ticket, and that audio guide gives you all the sort of information and details about which rooms were used for what inside the castle, and they give you a lot of information and history. It's a very interesting castle. There's so much going on in there, and I'm pretty sure there are ghosts in there, considering how a discovery team went in there and they heard sounds that couldn't be explained, is what the audio guy said. So it is an incredible place to visit, and one that I think it's, just look at it. I mean, it's so beautiful. Like, that is one of the most picture perfect castles you will ever see in Europe. Well, fortunately, a couple that I met actually in the castle were willing to drive me out back to Postonja. So we have actually made it back to the Postonja bus station, and from here it's a quick bus back to Ljubljana, so it's actually going to be pretty straightforward from here. But I just want to quickly talk about the day for a bit. The caves are great and the castle is great. As you can probably tell, both are incredible. The one thing I would say is, first, probably bring some sort of rain boots or rain shoes. People tell you about how cold Postonja is, and it's true, it is very cold, but more than the cold, it's wet. It's very, very wet, especially on the ground. So bringing some boots, bringing some rain shoes would probably be your best bet. Now, the biggest problem you're going to encounter is getting from the cave to the castle. And that is the problem that you probably realized that I have been talking about a lot on this channel. The thing is, those two distances are pretty far away. They're about 10 kilometers away, and until I actually took the road there on a car, I didn't realize how far it actually was, and it takes quite a while actually to get from Postonja all the way to Prejama. I would say rent a car is probably the easiest way, and if you're willing to bite the bullet, pay the 40 euros and you can get a taxi. Otherwise, come during July or August when they do have a shuttle bus running between the two destinations, and then the shuttle bus is actually included in the ticket price. If not, it is getting a little bit difficult, but hitchhiking is always possible, and I did it today. A very old Slovenian man generously took me over to Prejama, so it is possible. You just need to be willing to be a little bit more patient, and I think if you're coming alone, that's definitely a way to do it. But both destinations today have been incredible, and this country has so much to offer, and especially here in this part of the world, in this country, it just is so surprising. I just never expected to see such massive karst cave formations. To take a train inside the cave, that's even crazier to me, but it has been an absolutely incredible experience, and I would absolutely recommend for anyone who's coming to Slovenia. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. It's just a straight bus back to Ljubljana, so there's not much there for me to show more. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe for a lot more food and travel videos. We've got more coming here from Slovenia, so make sure to stay tuned, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye guys.